Hey, sports fans. It's Juan at PSL again. Just wanted to touch base as we get closer to spring training. Um, it says on the news and on YouTube, mostly YouTube, I'm watching right now, that the Mets are, close to some of the free agents. I don't know. Um, you would think some of the free agents would be jumping at the possibility of going to the Mets and going to a team that obviously has been spending money the last couple of years. So as a New York Mets fan, I find myself in a different predicament. Before, the owners were just, too cheap, and we just suffered with what we had, and every superstar was on every other team but ours. And if we did have a superstar, he was neutralized because the people around him couldn't support, either his pitching or um, his batting average or his home run power. Whatever we had wasn't supported. We need more than one or two guys at the one pitching and one fielding to be a star. We need more. But we are paying that the new owner Steve Cohen is paying over $300 million payroll. Come on, I mean that's probably more than the Twins and Devil Rays combined, and yet they seem to have an all right season. Even if they don't win a world championship, they're in there. They're in the mix. Until Boston gets hurt or until somebody from Tampa Bay gets hurt. Um, but at least they're in the mix all year. As a fan, you sit there going, okay, we got a chance. And as a fan, all you really want is a chance. We're not LA. We're probably never going to be LA. That we can attract all these great players just for showing up. I mean, they're getting paid well. I mean, just about everybody's getting paid well. That's not my reference. My reference is people want to play for a world champion, but you have to get there to be a world champion. So we're kind of like stuck right now, where we made one round of the playoffs and we got silly and we thought we were good and we're one player away and this and that, and then we're not one player away. We're less injuries away. We're more than one player willing to come here. I like the Marcus Simeon trade only because of he looks like he's a disciplined guy. He looks like discipline runs in his veins, and hopefully the young guys will look at him and say, that's a guy I want to be like. I want to emulate somebody like him. Um, there is a problem when you have stars and they can't play together, because then they lose that star appeal by not being able to produce. They're a star. Individually, they put up star numbers and they show up to the All-Star game. Um, Look how many years we wasted with Jacob deGrom, where we didn't give him support. We didn't give him ball players that could make it. He was winning the Cy Young, I think, with less than 10 wins one year. He was in path to win the Cy Young. I mean, that what kind of support is that? You expect it as a New York Mets fan. I grant you that. I've been suffering for a long time, but for some reason I stay with him. When I moved to Florida, I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll be a Devil Rays fan or a Marlins fan. At least the Marlins have won 15, 20 years sooner than the Mets have in our history here. The Mets haven't won since they made the playoffs in 15. They got elated about that, but I think we haven't won since '86. That's good for 40 years now. With this season coming up, it'd be 40 years. So it's being a fan is not about winning all the championships. You know, LA and the regular championship teams, they take turns, but at least they're in the mix. They give you something to be excited about. They give you something to hope on, to build a dream and say, you know what, this is our year. Every year we say this is our year, and some of us believe it. Some of us want to be a New York Mets fan and have a triumphant season. Um, I realize at times I've become a realist, unfortunately, and I realize at times we just don't have the team. We just don't. We're gonna be playing National League East, and hope Atlanta doesn't cream us, and hope um, other teams don't cream us. So, but I would like to have, if not a championship year, or close to one. I think it was 20. We got to play the Dodgers for the National League Championship Series, and everybody, including me, expected them to lose. I mean, there's just a well-polished organization. Don't know um, why is so much more polished than the New York Mets. They're all spending a lot of money. I don't know if Steve Cohen was here already in 2020, but um, after Steve Cohen came, we had money. So money was no longer the excuse. We got Francisco Lindor, and then we stopped. He was a good pickup, even though the first maybe 2 years he was here, he was average at most. I actually like Andres Jimenez over in Cleveland, now Toronto. I liked him better. He's lefty bat, and I liked him better. Now after the year Lindor had last year, and maybe the year before that, I don't like him better. But I mean, I liked him, and he was up and coming star, not making major money, so it wouldn't have affected the budget. But they got rid of him. They traded him over to Cleveland. He had a couple of good years. I think he won a Gold Glove there, at least one, maybe two. Then he went to Toronto last year. He had a good year. He was in the playoffs. Um, he's had a good, successful career for being somebody. He's not a free agent, so he's got to be probably arbitration cases. So look how less he's getting paid from Francisco Lindor. But Francisco Lindor last year, especially, maybe the year before that, had years where you were pretty happy. I mean, not bats and games and his season, we were pretty happy. Um, and that's all you can hope for, to be happy as a fan as you watch the game. Sure, if you lose all the time, it kind of kills a little bit of that happiness, because you're going to be happy in the third or fourth inning, and then, be losing by the sixth or seventh inning. It becomes a routine. But last year, I remember the Mets making comebacks against, teams that were shutting them out or holding them to one run for like 6 or 7 innings. And then the reliever would come in, and the Mets would tee off and score 5, 6 runs. That was pretty exciting, because it wasn't expected. So it was pretty cool. I'm happy that it happened. I had a little joy from that. Like, after having so many miserable games, I did happen, and it happened a couple of times that I remember thinking, "Wow, this is a good sign." A good sign if we can come back against good teams with pitchers that are holding you down, your offense down, and then when the reliever comes in, he's all over the place as far as walking, and then a bloop hit here or a line drive there, whatever you want to call it. That's a beautiful thing. That is a beautiful thing. So I'm happy, that we got to experience that, and I just think, as a fan, and you see the amount of money this owner is spending. I could see if he was cheap like the other, Payson and the other owners that let Tom Seaver go away, let the Strawberry and Gooden go away, and Jeff Kent, and you know the Houston pitcher with the forkball. Well, Nolan Ryan, obviously, but there's another, or Mike Scott. I remember the success he had just by leaving the Mets. They have success. Now that doesn't mean that he probably went to another team and a coach pointed out something and said, "Look, try this or change this or pivot to this or do something." How about that playoff start that we had in I think it was 15? He went over to the Colorado. The Mets let him go away. He had a couple of years in the Colorado. We could have kept on. He was our second baseman. I think it was Murphy, Darryl Murphy. I think Darryl Murphy seems to ring a bell, but I can picture him. He was our second baseman. He was a lefty bat, and he single-handedly got us into the playoffs until, Kansas City, team out of nowhere came and beat us like we were nothing. I think we might have got one win. If it wasn't 4-0, it might have been 4-1, the series to Kansas City. Some of my facts are getting vague as I watch so much information that unfortunately I'm not holding on to all the facts, but I know it wasn't a competitive series. And you expect the Dodgers to beat the Mets and Atlanta to beat the Mets and a couple of good teams. But at that year, I did not expect Kansas City to beat the Mets. I thought that was the year we're going to get a break. We're going to get a chance to get in there. We got in there, and now we're going against the Kansas City Royals for the World Series, and down we go. It was just sad to be a fan. I'm used to it. Don't have pity for me. I am used to it. But I just don't agree with it. I don't agree on our results. And in the last couple of years has been even tougher because we have the payroll. Before it was always, the owner doesn't pay, the owner doesn't let the free agents go, and our good players are leaving. If we had some good players, which we did, I'm being a little facetious there, but we're letting good players leave. If they we let Zach Wheeler leave. I mean, I didn't think he was the best of the best, like a Jacob deGrom, but to me, he was up there. He had, he showed good stuff, good extension. He's a big guy. I don't remember him being hurt a lot. It's been a couple of years now, but I don't remember him being hurt a lot. And they let him go, and he had great seasons, and he's still having great seasons for the Phillies. Our crosstown opponent. And then the Phillies are having a good team with Schwarber, and they picked up all the stars. They picked up the shortstop, Trey Turner. They picked up Zach Wheeler. They had some homegrown stars like the Ranger Sanchez and Ranger Suarez, and Dominguez and the other guy, the lefty, Sir Anthony Dominguez, and what's the other lefty? I think he's Venezuela. But anyway, my point is we have the chance to pick up a couple of stars. Suarez is out there. Bo Bichette is out there. Tarek Skubal sounds like he's out there. I just hate to give up the farm for him if he's not going to stay. If we give up the farm, I hope he stays. I heard somebody on YouTube say maybe 10-year contract, possibility to extend him or whatever. I like the thought of that. I don't want to see another Juan Soto Part 3 where the Nationals got, 4 or 5 guys from him and then he didn't stay with San Diego. Then he The Yankees gave up a couple, and he didn't stay with the Yankees. Even though I have no pity for the Yankees. I mean, I wish them well, but I have no pity for them. They've been a strong team for a long time, and they have the history championships. So there's no denying their presence. But I hope that Tarek Scuba doesn't do that to us. I hope if he does, if we do give up a couple of players, it's going to probably be more than a couple, but I hope there's a combination of money and players and, so that we can keep some of our young pitchers. I'm not a fan of getting rid of the young Jonah Tongs and the Sprouts and the McLeans and everybody else you can think of that show promise, Carson Bench and Jet Williams. I hope we can keep some of those guys so they become strawberries and they become Dwight Goodens that came up from the minors and took over. And then for a while there, the other guy, the Dark Knight that we had there that imploded during the playoff game or whatever. But before that, he was reliable. He was good. He was fun to watch. All right, so let me give you some WBC rant. I've been ranting a couple of videos. I don't know if you've seen my previous videos. Please like and subscribe. Bronx Cop 1982. Please like and subscribe. I support myself. This is not a sponsored channel. And my WBC rant, maybe number 3, is multi-millionaires should not be taking the spots of minor leaguers and other ball players to play in the WBC. They should not. They cost their team too much when they get hurt playing this unofficial ball that doesn't count for nothing. They want to throw in, I've heard the argument, well, they're playing for national pride. That may be well and good if you're a teenager, if you're a 20-year-old, 21-year-old, and you're playing for national pride. I get all that. But once you become a multi-millionaire, you'll see the distinction I make. I'm saying multi-millionaire. You have no business playing for your country. You want to show national support? $1 million minimum to the charities in your country to help support your country. Whether you're building, a community of $50,000 homes here and there, and spread it out. Don't make it one general city where everybody else lives in tinder boxes and flat wood, and make it $50,000 homes here and maybe another 10 in the other part, and you're making so many families happy by doing that. And you change lives. You want to have national pride? Change lives. You playing in the WBC does not change lives. You get to show up in your Bentley. You get to wear your 14, 16 chains and rings, and you get to strut around your stadium while your countrymen, not all countrymen obviously, and not all countries, but your countrymen are putting their pennies together to come see the WBC out of national pride, and you're standing there strutting around. I have a problem with that. I think you should strut around in the stands to draw attention, yes, but not as somebody that's going to play. Let the kids play. This 1980s thing when the Russians and the Cubans beat up on our young kids, I understood it when our country got upset and we put together the dream teams, and I understood it. We went back and showed these teams, these countries, at our national pride by beating them by 40 to 60 points in the basketball games, and and stuff like that. And we proved our point, but that was over 20 something years ago. It should have went back to amateur, semi-pro, college, Um, Not multi millionaires. In an extreme case, you can take a first or second year player that's making minimum wage in the major leagues. If you needed him for that position, or he was, he's the current star already, I could see him letting him play. But none of those guys are going to have multi millions at their disposal. I think that national pride stuff goes right out the window when you tell me somebody, a $300 million contract is playing third base for the American team or the Dominican team or the Puerto Rican team. It don't matter to me. I'm not picking one country over the other. I'm just saying, give the kids a chance to play. Give the kids a chance to play. It's only fair. If you were a kid and you weren't a multi-millionaire, you would understand my choice. Your gift is going to be tax deductible anyway, so you're not losing nothing. Technically, if you're making, $2 or $3 million a month, you're not losing anything if you make a one-time minimum. I'm saying minimum. Those of you guys that want to be my hero, give $5 million to your country. Whether it's truckloads of food and aid, whether it's I think building houses is a proper way to go. A lot of economies around the world that are not doing good, housing is an issue. Where these people live, including some of my people. I'm not picking on any country. I'm not looking down on any country. I'm saying the opposite. Help your countrymen. You want to have national pride? Help them. Provide for them. You strutting around with your Bentley. You can't go to the nightclubs. Look what happened to the other guy when he went to the nightclub. He got stabbed. He got stabbed, or he got shot, or whatever it was. He needed emergency surgery. You cannot go to the nightclub because 99% of the people there are jealous of you, and they're jealous of you in a bad way. They don't want you there. You're showing off. You're gonna go there with your 15 chains and take their women. And now he's supposed to support you and go, oh, it's good that so-and-so came here because, all the women ran to him. That's not what a normal guy is going to say. I don't see that. I worked in nightclubs when I was younger, and that's not what you want to hear. You want to hear, yeah, a superstar is in town. He's going to go to the game. If you want to catch a glimpse of him, he'll be either in the box upstairs, or if he's got, if he's a good guy, he'll sit with the fans. Sit with the fans and shake 20, 30 hands. I was at the game, I think it was last year, minor league game, maybe a Mets spring training game, and David Wright was sitting with the fans. I looked over, and 20 seats from me is David Wright. I waved at him, and we made eye contact. He waved back. How cool is that? He wasn't hiding up in the skybox. I'm special. I get a skybox. Yeah, well, good for you. Unless they put TV camera in there, we're not going to see you. You can see the game, but we're not going to see you unless you stand up and, wave to the crowd and do a Harry Carey or something like that. Come on. You guys get these multi-million-dollar contracts. I understand not everybody speaks English, and I'm not going to hold that against you. I understand not everybody went to college. I'm not going to hold that against you. But I am going to hold against you your claiming national pride, and you're making multi-million. My rant is only against the guys that are making multi-millionaire. They know who they are. You know who they are. If you're a baseball fan and you're watching me and you're hearing me say this, you know who they are. As I'm driving around in my beautiful town, going on the way to Stewart, going to see a doctor, orthopedic doctor, I'm ranting. But I just want you to feel the pain that I would feel if I'm an average guy Multi millionaire walks by me, he doesn't even have to look at me. He makes his own cloud. He makes his own. First of all, he's probably surrounded by his agent and his trainer, and that's fine and well. I'm just saying we don't relate. You want me to feel national pride? Do something that helps our country. The United States, we got poor people. Puerto Rico, we got poor people. Dominican Republic, I know they got poor people. So just about every country, I don't know any country that's playing in the WBC that doesn't have poor people. And by poor people, I mean people that may need assistance. They may need um somebody to provide a roof over their head, or somebody that can give them a steady structure, or somebody that could provide heat for their home that doesn't have heat. you know um I don't know about air conditioning, how you would set it up in certain countries that are not set up with the infrastructure to handle all that, but somehow you can help out, you can figure it out. You're a rich guy, you hire people, you have accountants, you have lawyers, you have agents, you can figure this out. And I don't want the money to get lost in the shuffle. Don't try that either. Don't try, hey, I gave my $1 million, but I can't show you a thing that happened because of it. Don't do like this California thing with $20 billion for a railroad that doesn't exist. Don't do that. You show your national pride by showing the complex. Show the Manny Machado complex. Show the Jacob deGrom complex. Show all these guys. I mean, I'm not isolating just Spanish players. I'm not isolating just American players. I know we have West Indian, and I know we have Czechoslovakian, I think, was in the WBC. They didn't have that many stars, so I think they had. I got a kick out of that. They had normal guys that probably play on the weekends and play in leagues, showing up to the WBC. I thought that was the coolest thing. Even if they got wiped out in the first round by some teams that had 4 or 5 multi-millionaires on it, I still gave them more respect than I did for the team that had the multi-millionaires. My point is, it should be amateur baseball. It started out that way. It should be that way. Cuba cheats because they claim they don't have amateurs, or actually they claim they don't have professionals that really are professionals. And I don't know if Russia has a team. I don't remember if Russia has a team. But I'm just in general, let's give these kids a chance to play. Let's give them a chance to shine to their community, even if they never make the major leagues. Just think of the joy this guy's gonna have, for the rest of his life. I played in the WBC this particular year, and I played against these particular stars. And now he could start his own gym. He could have a little career in his own town. All this stuff makes money for them. For the multi-millionaire, it doesn't make any money for them. They don't get I don't think they get a show-up fee. I don't think they get a extra sponsorship because they're in the WBC. They're already loaded with sponsorships. And I keep saying it over and over again. I'm not against these guys. I'm against what they do. I am a true fan. I've been a fan for over 50 years, and I will probably continue being a fan. I don't know there'll ever be a point, even with my sad Mets, I don't think there'll ever be a point where I won't be a fan. But what I'm not a fan of for quite a few years now, that's why I'm getting it out into the open. I haven't been a fan of the WBC with professionals. I haven't been a fan of that. I think that time has come and gone. We proved our point back in, I think it was the 80s. It might have been early 90s. But when, our country got upset and we put the dream team together, as I mentioned earlier, I understood all that. I understood the national pride. I understood all that. I probably, If you would have asked me back then, I probably would have agreed. I think we should go over there and show these countries these are our athletes. You're beating up on our kids, our amateurs, our colleges. These are our athletes. So I agree with it, but that agreement is 20 years past due. For at least 20 years, I say let's go back to amateurs. Give some guy a chance to shine. Don't forget, if your country is doing as bad as I think it's doing, he's gonna get new cleats. He's gonna get a new uniform. He's gonna get new supplies. He's gonna get fed a steady meal every day. He's gonna be treated like a king for the period of the WBC. I don't know. I don't remember if it's a week, 10 days, whatever it is. He's gonna be treated like a king. Let this guy be treated like a king. You're gonna be treated like a king 365 days a year anyway. So why take away the shine for some guy that is a totally unknown? And then if he has a breakout WBC, it may open doors for him. He may be in the consideration of guys that the teams may want to sign. But if you take his spot and he's off the team because you're taking his spot, I think that's a big no-no. I have a real problem with that. I'm hoping some of you fans do agree. Obviously, we can't do nothing about it this year. They sound like they got their teams all together. But if they're listening, if anybody in MLB is listening, if anybody as a player is listening, come on, you got to give these guys a chance. You got to give these kids a chance. Keep the pros. Look at the Edwin Diaz situation. We lost him for a whole year. A whole year we lost him because he went to the WBC. And then he got hurt and he couldn't play. And then he has a great year with us and then he leaves us. He got paid that whole time. Nothing against him as much for leaving, but more for he got paid doing a stupid thing that he didn't have to do. He was jumping on the mound. He got hurt. All players get hurt. I get that. But if they get hurt playing a major league game, it's built into the equation. You kind of accept it. You kind of say, well, you know what? It seems like everybody's getting Tommy John now. It seems like everybody needs a year and a half to recover now. It seems like, a guy's hitting a foul tip off their foot, their ankle, their knee, whatever. That's all part of baseball. I get that. I hate that one of our stars or any star gets hurt. But that's built into the equation. I'm not going to say you're okay with it, but I'm going to say is a fact of life of playing Major League Baseball. But if you're playing in some Caribbean series or some World Baseball Classic or whatever, and you get hurt and you cost your team your specialty, your good year, that I think that's worse. I think that is a lot worse because that's something you didn't have to do. Give the kids a chance. Understand that they need to come up too. You're blocking them. You're taking away their hometown glory. Like I said, if I was an amateur and I didn't get to make the major leagues, but at least I got to play in the WBC and represent my country, and then I have a successful career in my town because of it. You change my life. I'm gonna make some money. I'm not gonna make your money, but I'm gonna make some money, and some money will keep me happy, as opposed to you shutting me down because you want to wear your 14 chains on the field. I have a big problem with that. My name is Juan in PSL. Please like and subscribe. It is free, and you help the channel out. I'm new. There's going to be bloopers built right into my channel. I can't help that. That's just the way it is for me right now as I'm learning. I have a lot to learn, the channel, the camera. I'm not making excuses. I'm just telling you that's just the way it is for me right now. So I appreciate you if you like and subscribe. And until next time, that was WBC rant number 3. Thank you.